Hello, true duelists. My name is Craig Fee, and welcome to the midweek update. Yes, once again, there are so many cards being revealed this week that I've decided to give them their own dedicated video. Aren't they special? Or maybe special is not quite the word to use here. They are cards being released in Photon Hypernova, the next set for the OCG. Getting right into it, first up are the new Gishki cards. Yes, the ritual deck before Nekroz, whose legacy was a hand loop and a ban list, has had 4 new cards revealed so far. Gishki Grim is a new level 2, on theme for the deck, and triggering for TCG players still insistent Sprite is the problem deck of the current format. It can count as the entire level requirement when tributed for the ritual summon of a water monster, and if normal or special summon summons any Gishki monster from your deck except for a copy of itself. And after that, you can only attack with ritual monsters for the rest of the turn. An archetypal tour guide is hardly a bad thing, even if it might hinder an OTK from time to time. Or maybe you're a hardcore competitive player who's decided that this card sucks because it's the Gishkis that are bad, and any summon from the deck is still a bad card. In which case, wow, dude, you truly are the smartest individual alive. You alone could have predicted this, and you are correct that the only cards that should be printed are meta-defining powerhouses such as Dimension Shifter and Mystic Mine. I love people. Moving on, their new ritual monster is Evagishki Nerimanes, which I've probably said wrong. The good version of App Cologne in the lore, but upgraded, so it would seem. It can be summoned with any Gishki ritual spell, and when ritual summoned can target a water monster in grave to summon it to your field. Nice. It also can't be destroyed by battle from a monster summoned from the extra deck, and once per turn can quick effect return a ritual Gishki monster you control to your hand to negate an opponent's monster effect and shuffle that monster into the deck. The cost for the negate is steep, but this version of the monster is a 3k beater, and it's alive in the lore, so it at least has that going for it. Also, nobody mentioned Mind August, because it doesn't exist, shut up. Gishki Ice Mirror is the new ritual spell that tributes monsters from your hand or field, or exactly one monster the opponent controls, whose level is exactly that of the ritual monster being summoned. That level requirement does apply when tributing your own monsters as well, but I wanted to emphasize that you can tribute the opponent's monster second because that's more exciting. Either way, once you do, you'll be taking damage equal to the summoned monster's original attack. The other neat thing this card does is that while in your grave, you can target another Gishki monster in your graveyard to put the Gishki on top of your deck and this card to the bottom. It won't come up often, but one day someone's Baron will be tributed for Zeal Gigas, which really just leaves you something to think about, doesn't it? The last card they got was Aqua Mirror Focalization, which is a sick name. Huge shout out to Focalization as a word, it's doing a great job. This is Gishki ROTA, adding any Gishki monster from deck to hand, but it also has an effect during the end phase if you control a water ritual monster, which is to banish itself to set one Aqua Mirror spell or trap from your deck to your field, except for another copy of itself. That effect is a hard once per turn, but the ROTA aspect is not, which is what I would call good card design. Useful even in multiples and abusable in limited quantities. It's just a shame that there are no good Aqua Mirror traps. Oh well. Some solid support for the deck. Won't break them by any means, but does provide some interesting new tools for ritual good stuff decks, or at least I think it could, which excites me and is therefore the most important piece of news. Archetypes also getting support in Photon Hypernova include the Generaider and Evil Eye decks, both on the newer side of things, but still, you'll love to see it. Generaider's got Vera, Seed here of the Generaider bosses. Level 9, as always, this fire attribute fairy can only use each effect once per turn, and you can only control one copy of it. If it's in your hand or grave, you can send one other Generaider card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon it, but it will be banished when it leaves the field. And if special summoned, it can summon another Generaider from your hand except for a copy of itself. Very solid, enables each of the other generators with bodies on board, and summons itself, which is all we ask for with level 9 main deck monsters. It does what it needs to do, and it does it well, which, as a fun fact, is the exact opposite of the core design philosophy of Gen X monsters. The more you know. Leviathan, which is not Leviathan as I keep reading it to be, is the generator boss of shadows. Needing 2 or more level 9s to summon, it's got the usual generator, you can only control 1, and makes your opponent's monsters lose 1,000 attack and defense. Sure. It also has the quick effect to tribute itself, and summon a non-fairy Generaider Xyz from the extra deck, and then attach cards from the field or either grave to it as materials, up to the number of materials that this card had. Which, if I'm not mistaken, means it is non-targeting and non-destruction removal, and could clear a board or disrupt the grave. That's a good amount of potential, even if only with 2 materials. Will Generator players finally start to summon Jormungandr? I don't know. They might already be doing that. I've never dueled against Generator in my life, and I doubt I will for the conceivable future, so you tell me. Generator's got new cards. They seem decent. The 2 cards seem solid overall, and I give them the YGO strats. It left me feeling better than Metroid Other M did, so at least it's not that, which is a very coveted award, I can assure you. Evil Eye also got their toys, starting with Balstress, Familiar of the Evil Eye. If it's in your hand or grave while you control an Evil Eye monster, you can quick effect special summon it, but it will be banished when it leaves the field. Why do that? Because during the opponent's turn, it can quick effect to link summon an Evil Eye monster using monsters you control. The noteworthy thing is that when doing so, you can also treat Evil Eye equip spells you control as material. Yes, that's right, this is the Evil Eye version of the Weather Painter link, but not really, because this one's a 2-headed dragon thing and it looks dope as fuck. They also got a new spell card, an equip spell maybe? Synergy? No, of course not. This is Evil Eye. It's a normal spell that will send 1 Evil Eye monster and 1 Evil Eye spell or trap from deck to grave in order to add an Evil Eye equipped spell from deck to hand. And for the rest of the turn, each non-Evil Eye card or effect you use will lose you 500 life points. It does search the equips at least, so there is some synergy, okay? I might have lied there, but I think it was funnier, so it's got that going for it. It also can be banished from the grave when you link summon a Evil Eye monster to equip an Evil Eye monster with an Evil Eye equip spell from your graveyard, which, man, that's a lot of Evil Eye in one sentence. It's cute. I am, of course, speaking of the effect when I say that it is cute, but some of you may think that I am referring to the card art. In which case, no, but if that's what you think, kudos, power to you. Either way, Foolish Burial and Foolish Burial goods in 1 card as a cost is probably decent, right? I guess we'll find out when people continue to not play Evil Eye. Sorry to all 4 of you out there. Something, see no evil, I don't know, comedy YouTube video. I wrote this at 2 a.m, fill in a better joke when recording. Okay, see no evil, play no weevil. Fuck it. Possibly most interesting this week is the new support for the Kshatri-La archetype. Could this be the deck to dethrone Sprite and Tears? Probably not, but maybe. Kshatri-La Rise Heart is a level 4 that can special summon itself from hand if you control a Kshatri-La monster, but will lock you into Xyz summoning from the extra deck for the turn if you do so. And during the main phase, if it was normal or special summoned this turn, can banish a Kshatri-La monster from your deck except a copy of itself to banish the top 3 cards of the opponent's deck face down, and will then make itself level 7. Neat. Seems solid, and as a heart card, it is super lore related. But I'm not going to pretend I've been paying a tremendous amount of attention to the Tearlaments Scareclaw lore, so you tell me what this heart card's about. Scareclaw Kshatri-La is a level 7 that can quick effect special summon itself from the hand, and if you do, you must banish a Kshatri-La or Scareclaw from your hand. It also has the super heavy samurai effect to attack in defense position using its defense stat as its attack value. and will negate the effect of any monster that battles a Scareclaw or Kshatri-La monster until the end of the turn. Bit of a turn archetype wise, but at least it has swarming potential? Question mark? Tearlaments Kshatri-La is another level 7 and has the same summoning condition as the Scareclaw one, but instead banishing a Kshatri-La or Tearlaments from your hand instead. If normal or special summoned, it can mill the top 3 cards of either player's deck to the grave, and if sent to the grave by card effect, can mill the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. Awesome. Another tier name for when one of them gets hit on the future ban list. Love to see it. Kshatri-La Arise Heart is a new rank 7 Xyz needing 3 level 7 monsters, and it has 3000 attack and defense. It can also be summoned using any Kshatri-La monster as material during the turn where you've already activated Kshatri-La Shangri-La's effect, which is annoying to read. This monster is Macrocosmos on legs, which is just what a Zodiac-esque Xyz needs, and once per chain, each time a card is banished, attaches one of the banished cards to itself as a material. And lastly, can quick effect detach 3 materials to target 1 card on the field and banish it face down. At least that last effect is once per turn, it's not constant unending disruption. I have a feeling the Zodiac Macrocosmos part of this card is why it'll see play more than anything, and everything else is really just a bonus. Don't worry though, because they've also got some new spell and trap, with Kshatri-La Overwrap being the first one, a quick play that can banish a monster with exactly 1500 attack and 2100 defense from your hand, field, or grave to give another monster 1500 attack. Wow, that is... Yep, that's an effect. If banished while you control a Kshatri-La monster though, it can target and negate the effects of an opponent's monster, which I feel is going to be the more relevant part of this card effect if it sees play whatsoever. Kshatri-La Papayas? Kshatri-La Papayas? Papaya. This is a normal spell that targets a Kshatri-La monster you control and summons a Kshatri-La monster with a different attribute from your deck in defense position, before locking you into only Xyz monsters for the turn when summoning from the extra deck. And if banished, can add a banished Kshatri-La card other than a copy of itself to your hand. Now that one seems good. Tour Guide and the spell and recovery all in one? Yeah, I'll give that one the playable status. Prime Planet Parasios is the field spell that can only be activated once per turn. When activated, it'll add a Kshatri-La monster from deck to hand. It gives all monsters you control 100 attack and defense for each different attribute on the field, and once per turn, if a Kshatri-La Shangri-La uses its effect, can pop 1 card on the field. They really want you to use the effect of the first Xyz they got, and I don't want you to use it on me, so I'm pretty torn on that. Stop locking my zones, just leave it to Ojamas. Lastly for them is Kshatri-La Big Bang. That's right, Bazinga jokes, here we come. Can't wait for those to be run into the dirt. If there is a Kshatri-La Xyz monster on the field, this card makes both players banish monsters face down until they only have 1 each. And if it is banished, it can target a Kshatri-La Xyz you control and add a monster attached to it as a material to your hand, and then special summon that card from your hand. Why does it go to the hand first? Probably to synergize with a card revealed from Darkwing Blast that I have completely forgotten about, but more importantly, we finally have evenly matched at home. Also new from the set is a bit of support for Scareclaw specifically, and a generic lore trap as well. Scareclaw Defang is a continuous spell that makes Scareclaw Link monsters and Vizaz Starfrost you control untargetable and indestructible by the opponent's card effects. It also makes monsters destroyed in battle by Vizaz or Scareclaw Links be banished instead of going to the grave, and lets you banish a Scareclaw Link from field or grave to target and destroy 1 card from the opponent. If only Scareclaw didn't mandate playing this abomination in the name of God. Now thankfully, one of the earlier cards I revealed here showed this thing dying, which does bring me personally great joy and satisfaction, although I may just be a little too displeased at the existence of Funko Pops. We can never be sure. It's not important, but I truly do hate the artwork of this card, and I felt the need to share it with you. Also in theme for the lore, Tearlaments have received a new field spell. A new secret rare for the deck? Knowing the TCG? Probably, because their current field spell is $100 the last time I checked, and this one is, if nothing else, a replacement for if/when it inevitably gets hit on a ban list. Tearlaments Perlergia, can't say any of these names, will give all of your Tearlaments and fusion monsters 500 attack, and more notably, if an Aqua Tearlaments monster is sent to the grave by card effect, can send a level 4 or lower Aqua monster from your deck to the grave. Yes, when you meet the trigger to trigger your fusion summons, you can then fusion summon again. It does have the stipulation that if you were to send a non-Tearlaments Aqua monster, you cannot use the effects of monsters with that name for the turn, but it lets you fusion summon because you fusion summon. Granted, it doesn't help you to make a play by itself, only extend once you've made one, so it isn't a fantastic card, or at least I don't think. But as will be covered in this week's update, Tearlaments did get a hit to their field spell in the OCG, and this serves as, if nothing else, a replacement. So TCG players playing the deck, fear not, there's still hope for your deck even if/when it gets hit. And lastly for today, Trivikarma, a normal trap card. You can only use one of its effects per turn and only once per turn, so you know it's overly balanced to the point of being unplayable. You can either target a Vizaz Starfrost you control and one of the opponent's monsters to negate the opponent's monster's effect and then give your Vizaz attack equal to half of the other monster's original attack or defense, whichever is higher. So the first effect is pretty much useless, I did get that right. Let's see, are we 2 for 2? Well, the other effect is to banish itself from the grave to add one spell or trap from deck to hand that mentions Vizaz Starfrost, except for another copy of Trivikarma. Okay, maybe I'm 1 for 2, 50%. Not great, not terrible. So it's foolish burial goods targets for Scareclaws or Tearlaments, I suppose, which could see it getting some play, although I can't imagine you'd ever want to draw it. So I don't know. Will it be played? Maybe after some hits to Tearlaments. Or maybe by someone who just really, really, really loves Vizaz. Anything is possible, and there are just as many people at your locals that are probably wearing the purple pants, trying so hard they're sinking directly into the floor, sweating it off to win like an extra OTS pack, dropping hundreds and if not thousands of dollars on the highest, most expensive, most blingiest competitive version of the deck. There's just as many as those kids as there are people adamantly insisting to me that Gen X is playable. So I'm sure there's someone out there who's just Vizaz Turbo, and you know what? Go off, king or queen, whatever, go off, do your thing. And so that'll wrap it up for this midweek update. Just covering the new cards in this one. The regular update will be out on Friday as usual. Until then, I've been your host, Craig Fee, and make sure you subscribe to YGO Strats for this week's update, and so you too can become a true dude. What do I do with my hands? I hit the subscribe button.